I drive through this town every week. Same route, same time, same empty road. The payphone sits at the edge of the gas station parking lot, old, scratched, barely standing. No one uses payphones anymore. That's why I noticed it. It's always there, lit by a single buzzing streetlight, looking out of place, FOMO. The first night I heard it ring, I thought it was my imagination. The town was quiet, too quiet, no cars, no people, no sound except the wind brushing across the pumps. Then the ringing started. Sharp, metallic, wrong. A payphone ringing in the middle of nowhere at 12:47 a.m. I stood there, frozen, staring at it from across the lot. It rang 6 times. Then it stopped. I told myself it was nothing. A glitch. A prank. But as I got back into my car, I realized something that made my stomach drop. The gas station was closed, and there was no power. Yet the payphone had still rung. I didn't leave right away. I sat in my car with the engine running, staring at that payphone. The street light above it flickered. On, off, on again. The rest of the station was dark. Windows black. Pumps dead. Rain. Dead. There shouldn't have been electricity anywhere on that property. I checked the time. 12:52 a.m. 5 minutes had passed since the ringing stopped. I told myself not to be stupid, not to get out, not to walk over there, but I did anyway. The air felt colder the closer I got. Not winter cold, something deeper. The payphone smelled like metal and dust. Old coins, old hands. I lifted the receiver. Deadline, no dial tone, no static, nothing. I hung it up and stepped back. That's when I noticed the paper taped inside the booth. It wasn't an advertisement. It wasn't graffiti. It was a handwritten list. 3 names, 3 dates, 3 times, all written in shaky black ink. The top entry caught my attention. It had today's date and a time just 10 minutes away. 1:02 a.m. Next to it was a name I recognized. It belonged to a man who worked at the hardware store down the road. My chest tightened. I checked my phone. No signal. The streetlight flickered again. And behind me, somewhere in the dark streets of that empty town, I heard a distant siren start to wail. The siren grew louder, not rushing, not urgent, just steady, like it already knew where it was going. I stepped out of the booth and looked down the road. No flashing lights. No movement. Just sound. The list inside the booth fluttered slightly, even though there was no wind. I went back and read the second entry. A woman's name. A date from last week. A time just after midnight. I knew her too. She used to work the late shift at the diner near the highway. I hadn't seen her in days. I swallowed hard and checked the third entry. Another name, another date, another time, all in the past. All close to midnight, all spaced a few days apart. My phone vibrated suddenly, making me jump. 1 bar of signal appeared. I opened my messages. A local news alert popped up. Breaking, fatal accident on Route 9 near Mill Creek. The timestamp read 1:02 a.m. My hands started shaking. That was the time written next to the first name, the hardware store owner. The siren stopped. Complete silence fell over the town. Then the payphone rang again, louder this time, closer, as if it was ringing inside my head. I stared at it, heart pounding. Every instinct told me not to answer. But something else, something heavier, pulled me forward. I reached out, my fingers wrapped around the receiver. And the moment I lifted it, someone on the other end whispered my name. I dropped the receiver. It slammed against the metal booth and swung wildly, still ringing. I backed away, heart racing, staring at the phone like it might lunge at me. There was no way it knew my name. I had never used that payphone. No one was around to hear it. The ringing stopped on its own. Slowly, I stepped forward again. Against every instinct I had, I lifted the receiver a second time. The line was quiet, too quiet. Then a voice spoke, calm, flat, almost bored. "Don't hang up next time." My throat went dry. "Who is this?" I asked. The voice ignored the question. "You're early," it said. Early for what? I glanced back at the list inside the booth. 3 names, 3 times. A pause crackled through the line, then the voice continued. "You're not on the list yet." My stomach dropped. "What list?" Another pause, longer this time. "You will be," the voice replied. The streetlight above the booth shut off completely. The town disappeared into darkness. I could hear my own breathing, my pulse. The voice returned, quieter now. "Stay close to the phone." The line went dead. The receiver grew heavy in my hand. I hung it up slowly. That's when I noticed something new on the paper. A fourth line had appeared. Fresh ink, still wet. It had today's date and my name, with a time written next to it, 2:11 a.m. I stared at my name until my vision blurred. The ink hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. It bled slightly into the paper like it had been written seconds ago. I checked my watch. 1:38 a.m., over 30 minutes left. My first instinct was to leave, to get back in my car and never come through this town again. I took 2 steps toward the parking lot. The payphone rang. I froze. Slow, patient. One ring, then another. I didn't turn around. The ringing followed me anyway, echoing off the empty buildings. I covered my ears. It didn't help. On the third ring, I felt something shift behind me. Not movement, attention. Like the town itself was waiting to see what I would do. I turned back. The payphone stood there quietly now, receiver resting in place. No ringing, as if it hadn't made a sound at all. I walked back into the booth. My breath fogged the glass. The list was still there. My name hadn't disappeared. Neither had the time. I picked up the receiver again. This time, the voice didn't wait. "You can't skip your turn," it said. "What happens at 2:11? I asked. Silence, then a faint clicking sound, like someone flipping through pages. "Accidents," the voice finally said. "Malfunctions. Wrong place. Wrong moment." My chest tightened. "You could warn them," I said. The line crackled. "You could warn yourself." The streetlight flickered back on, and across the empty road I noticed something that hadn't been there before. A second payphone. The second payphone stood beneath a dead streetlight. Its glass was shattered. The receiver dangled by its cord, swaying slightly. There was no wind. I looked back at the first booth. It was exactly the same as before. Clean glass, intact phone. Like a choice, the receiver in my hand grew warm. "You're running out of time," the voice said. "How many people are on that list?" I asked. "Enough," it replied. I stepped toward the second payphone. Each step felt heavier than the last, like the ground was resisting me. As I reached it, the hanging receiver began to swing faster. Tap, tap, it knocked against the metal frame. Inside the cracked glass, I saw markings, names, dates, times scratched deep into the surface. Some were crossed out, others were circled. My name was there too, but the time was different. 2:11 a.m. was scratched out. Below it, a new time had been carved. 2:47 a.m., my stomach dropped. I stumbled backward. "That's not fair," I said. The voice didn't deny it. "It's flexible," it said, "based on decisions." "What decision changes mine?" The receiver in my hand went dead, no dial tone, no static. Then the hanging phone rang. Not loud, not urgent, just once. I picked it up without thinking. The voice returned, closer now. Answering, it said, was one decision. The street around me went dark. Every light died at once, except the payphone booth behind me. Its light glowed brighter than before, and inside the glass I saw a figure standing where I had been moments ago, holding the receiver, watching me. I dropped the receiver. It didn't hit the ground. It stopped inches above the pavement, hanging there, suspended, like time had paused just for it. The figure inside the booth tilted its head, slow, curious. I recognized the way it moved, because it moved like me. Same posture, same nervous shift of weight, even the same jacket. "You're not real," I said. The figure raised the receiver to its ear. The phone in the booth rang again. This time I heard it in my head. The street lights flickered back on one by one, not forward, backward, retracing the path I had walked. "Do you remember the first call?" the voice asked. "Yes," I said. "Do you remember hanging up?" I hesitated. I remembered panic, running, breath tearing out of my chest, but Hanging up? I don't think I did, I said. Correct, the voice replied. The figure in the booth pressed its palm against the glass. I felt pressure on my own chest, like a sewer being pushed from the other side. You never ended the call, the voice said. So it kept going. The glass of the booth cracked. Not shattered, cracked in the shape of a web. The figure smiled. It was the first thing that didn't match me, because I don't smile like that. Every unanswered call needs someone to stay, the voice continued. To listen. To wait. I backed away. The street behind me stretched longer than it should have. The payphone behind me loomed closer, both pulling at once. What happens at 2:47? I asked. The voice softened. That depends, it said, on whether you leave the line open again. The figure lifted the receiver inside the booth, and the phone in my pocket began to ring. I didn't own a phone anymore. The screen lit up anyway. Incoming call unknown. The time blinked at the top. 2:46 a.m. 1 minute left. I stood between two versions of myself, one waiting, one still running, and the phone kept ringing. The ringing stopped the moment I touched the screen, not because I answered, because it recognized me. The display went dark. The street went quiet, too quiet. No wind, no insects, no distant traffic. The payphone booth door creaked open on its own. The figure stepped out. Each footfall landed half a second before the sound, like the world was struggling to keep up. Up close, the differences were worse. The eyes were wrong, not empty, not glowing, just delayed, like they blinked after the rest of the face had already moved. You still don't remember, it said. Its voice came from the booth, from my phone, from inside my skull. Remember what? I asked. The figure reached into its jacket, my jacket. It pulled out a phone, old, cracked screen, my old phone, the one I lost the night I quit driving, the night I stopped using this road. You answered, it said. The memory hit hard. Rain, headlights, a ringing phone vibrating against my leg. A glance down, a second too long. Metal screaming, glass exploding, silence. I staggered back. No, I whispered. You answered the call, the figure said, and someone else never did. The street behind me changed. The asphalt faded into gravel, then dirt, then tire tracks leading into the trees. A crooked cross stood at the edge of the tree line. Rotting wood, faded flowers. My memorial. You didn't survive, the voice said gently. You transferred. The payphone rang again, this time from inside the booth. This place exists for people like us, the figure continued, people caught between moments. Unfinished calls. I shook my head. I'm still here, I said. The figure nodded. So am I. The booth light flickered red. The receiver inside lifted on its own. The time on the street clock changed, 2:47 a.m. The ringing stopped. The line clicked open. And I realized the truth. There was only room for one of us to leave this road. The receiver hovered in the air between us. It swayed gently, like it was breathing. The figure stepped aside. Go ahead, it said. Finish the call. I looked at the booth. The glass reflected both of us. Two identical silhouettes. Only one cast a shadow. Mine didn't. What happens if I answer? I asked. The figure smiled. I get to leave. The streetlight behind it flickered back to life. I saw cars in the distance. Headlights, movement, sound, life. And if I don't, the figure's smile faded. Then you stay. The phone rang once, not loud, patient. I stepped closer to the booth. The air inside felt colder, heavier, like stepping into deep water. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, I said. I know, the figure replied. That's why this place lets you exist at all. I wrapped my fingers around the receiver. It was warm, human warm. I lifted it toward my ear. The figure leaned forward. Hope flickered across its face. That's when I noticed something. The reflection behind it moved late, just like before. I lowered the receiver. You already answered once, I said. The figure stiffened. And you didn't leave then. The street clock twitched, 2:47 a.m. again. You're not me, I said. You're what I left behind. The booth light snapped white. The ringing grew frantic. The figure screamed, not in anger, in fear. The booth door slammed shut on its own. The receiver dropped back into place. The ringing stopped. The street snapped back to normal. Cars passed. Wind returned. Crickets chirped. The payphone stood silent, rusty, dead. I was alone, but the clock still read 2:47 a.m., and I knew one part remained, because unfinished calls never end cleanly. I took a step back from the booth. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't. Not yet. The street was quiet again. Normal, ordinary. I glanced at my watch, 2:48 a.m., a minute past the time on the list. Nothing happened. No ringing, no figure, no voice. I exhaled slowly. I was alive, but something in me knew the truth. The calls never really end. They wait, patient, hidden in shadows. I drove home that night, slowly, carefully. Every turn in the road reminded me of the booth, the payphone, the list, the voice. I didn't go back. I haven't since. But sometimes when the wind whistles through empty streets, I hear it. The faint buzz of a payphone, calling my name, and I remember the figure, waiting. If this story kept you watching, there's another real horror waiting for you. Click on the screen, and don't watch it alone.